Morning, everybody. Welcome to Mind Your Own Business, Chapter 2, Lessons from Norway. As you know, we spent 12 days touring Norway, talking to business owners and trying to figure out why the happiest and one of the most healthiest economies exists there and how it differs from us in the U.S. And the first thing I would like to mention today is a little bit about size. There are 5.4 million people that live in Norway. And so it is not the largest of the Scandinavian countries. And as we'll talk in another video, it's one of the richest. And if you compare it in size, it's about like LA, the Greater Los Angeles DMA. These are DMAs, designated market areas. It's how TV sort of maps, and you can see the largest DMAs. And so it's really like one medium-sized market. Now, Los Angeles, obviously, a very different market than Norway, and I'm not trying to draw any inference between the two, either politically, socially, or anything, but just in size. So if you got to run something, a business, it's a 5.4 million person business. And that's, and LA's probably grown a bit since then. So, but you can get the idea that the United States has many factors. The first is it's just bigger, more complicated. And so the small population in Norway allows them to get on the same page more quickly. And so when you look at the way they handled the pandemic, for example, a wealthy country moved money quickly to both consumers and businesses. And then when COVID began to wane, opened up quickly, brought tourism back in, and there was a reasonable business failure rate. I can tell you when we were in Norway, we would use Google to try to find different businesses. About half of the restaurants and stores that we looked for were gone or were under new ownership with a different menu / a retail store turned into an art gallery. So they went through their pain just like we did, but a smaller country, a very wealthy country, we'll talk about that, who provided some stability, and then one that opened up, had one set of rules, not a lot of debate. COVID, among many other things in the U.S., has become a political issue. We're a much more litigious society in the United States, so conflict is something we enjoy, and the culture in Norway is different. So let's apply that to our workplaces. We have a more diverse, much more entrepreneurial in some ways, at least mentally individualistic society. We also have one that had sort of a haphazard safety net. Be thankful for what we had, but it was somewhat haphazard. And so some benefited really, really well, some didn't. Also, their political system is such to where there's not as much wealth at the top and politicians favoring business and special interests. And so the process was cleaner. So the outgrowth of this was less dialogue, less conversation, less us and them. And when you talk to the business owners there and residents, they feel generally good about how most of it happened. They felt like the government was their ally. Now, there's some issues lately that is changing a bit of that perception. But in the United States, we have a real us and them sort of mentality. So as we work in our businesses, the key to the next 6 to 12 months is try to get the hearts and minds of everybody in your company on the same page. It's an extreme leadership challenge. You have to be very clear about what we value. Are we a work from home or a work from office company? We need to facilitate buy-in. We need to get past the dialogue and dissension. And dialogue and dissension are things that the U.S. loves. I mean, we'd love to debate it just to debate it. And so the lack of conformity or lack of harmony here is a bigger challenge than many of those businesses face. They tend to be a little more grateful for what they have, even though in many cases they have less, particularly at the top, because the wealthy and high income earners are taxed very, very heavily. So a very different place in that regard. But for us, maybe the takeaway for today is lead your organizations through these tough times by enlisting everyone and trying to capture the heart and mind of each person. That's it for today. Another lesson from Norway next week.